First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Relief from the heat begins this weekend in the form of showers and storms. This is WFT's First at 5. I'm Sarah Howard.
And I'm Tatyana White. But this weekend's change in weather is the start of a rainy trend that will last well into next week. Let's get right over to UF forecaster Kade Sowers, who is timing out when the showers are expected to begin.
Yeah, Tatyana, right now the showers haven't really started yet. As you can see, it's really dry over here in Gainesville. It's in the mid-90s right now. It's really hot, but if we look ahead, right now actually it's very cloudy over here in the east and down here in Fort Myers, but a lot of the attention's really here around the Carolinas where it's going to be stormy. Looking at our hour by hour, there's about a 20% chance of rain at 7 p.m. and then back into our dry heat through the rest of the night and then into the morning. And looking ahead, coming up, we've got tropical forecasts, stormier Saturdays to come, and storming all next week pretty much.
And it's been nearly a week since Hurricane Beryl hit Texas, and power outages still remain for thousands of customers. Beryl's impact is being felt in other parts of the country, including damaging tornadoes in the Northeast. As Laura Aguirre reports, a baby had to be rescued from the storm after being abandoned.
Truck driver Reginald Walton was heading down Highway I-10 in Louisiana Tuesday when he thought he saw a doll on the roadside.
I saw it move and I said, hey, that looks like a baby.
Walton stopped and found a 1-year-old boy alive in a ditch. Local investigators believe the boy and his 4-year-old brother were abandoned by their mother as then Hurricane Beryl slammed ashore on the Gulf Coast. The 4-year-old was found dead Monday in water along the same highway behind a visitor center. Authorities say they arrested the boy's 25-year-old mother on several charges, including murder.
We looked at this 1-year-old as our miracle baby.
I don't feel like I'm a hero.
In Texas, hundreds of thousands of people face another day trying to stay cool amid Beryl-related power outages and sweltering temperatures. Progress is being made, but CenterPoint Energy says around 500,000 customers could be without power until sometime next week. About the same amount of time forecasters predict the dangerous heat wave will linger over the state.
From road and bridge washouts to homes destroyed, the damage is significant.
In the Northeast, 2 Beryl-related deaths reported in Vermont as remnants of the massive storm spawned tornadoes and flash floods across the region. The National Weather Service confirmed at least 7 twisters in New York Thursday, and some parts of New England saw a month's worth of rainfall. The flooding threat moves south into the weekend, where up to 4 inches of rain could fall along parts of the I-95 corridor between New Jersey and the Carolinas. I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
A Lake City man is in jail and charged with distributing child sex abuse material. Williams Irvin Daniels is accused of sharing 2 child sex abuse videos in a group chat on social media in 2023. Daniels was also listed as the administrator of this child predator group chat. This case was investigated by the FBI, the Columbia County Sheriff's Office, and the FDLE. If convicted, Daniels faces a mandatory minimum penalty of 5 to 20 years in federal prison. A missing woman in Marion County has been found safe. We told you Thursday Jasandra disappeared from a homeless camp off Northwest 63rd Place. She was last seen going into the woods with a man, and witnesses say they heard what sounded like a struggle. The Marion County Sheriff's Department thanks the public for sharing her information so that she could be located safely.
Florida's citrus industry limped to the end of the 23-24 growing season, with farmers hoping newly planted and recovering trees can avoid hurricane damage this year. Earlier today, the U.S. Department of Agriculture released a final report about this latest season and slightly boosted estimates of orange production from a June report. Overall, citrus numbers were up 11.4% from last season, but that had the lowest production in nearly 100 years. Florida Citrus Mutual CEO Matt Joyner is hoping for a calm hurricane season to help ongoing recovery from the 2022 Hurricane Ian.
We're very optimistic that, with favorable weather conditions, we can continue to recover and even rebuild the historic Florida citrus industry.
The industry has been in hyper recovery mode since Hurricane Ian caused massive damage to groves as it swept across the state. Even before Ian, the industry had seen reduced production as it confronted residential and commercial growth and the effects of citrus greening disease.
The Marion County School Board is moving forward with plans to build a new high school. During a special meeting last night, the board approved the company that will construct the school. Wharton Smith Incorporated was tapped to build the school that will be located in the Marion Oaks neighborhood. The next step is to negotiate a contract. The school is expected to open in August 2027. The St. Johns River Water Management District is conducting a 175-acre prescribed burn today at Lochloosa Wildlife Conservation Area in Alachua County. Prescribed burns enhance the land's environmental quality, prevent wildfires by burning off fuels that naturally build up over time, and help cycle nutrients and manage tree diseases. The district has ensured that the weather conditions are okay for managing the fire properly and to minimize the impact of smoke to residents and traffic.
And a Florida woman who was arrested in the Turks and Caicos Island over ammunition in her carry-on bag is back in the state. Sharita Greer reunited with her loved ones at Orlando International Airport Thursday. Greer was heading back from the islands in May when authorities searched her bag, found 2 bullets, and took her into custody. Greer said she didn't know they were there, and the 45-year-old grandmother was originally looking at a 12-year minimum sentence, but amid pressure from U.S. lawmakers to show leniency, officials on the island changed the law to give judges more discretion for sentences in firearm cases.
I'm very emotional. I'm very happy to be back in the United States with my family. You know, just be careful. Be very careful. Because the other states, other countries got different laws than we do. So that's very serious.
She was ultimately fined $1,500 and given a suspended sentence of 23 weeks. Greer is one of 5 Americans arrested on the island in recent months for carrying ammunition.
People driving into Florida are being greeted by a new highway sign, and the slogan has some talking. The slogan reads, "Welcome to the free state of Florida," and the words "hurry back" have been added to signs leaving the state. The slogan is something Governor Ron DeSantis has used to describe the state during his time as governor. It's being met with both praise and pause from visitors, especially from one couple who owns a vacation home in Florida.
I like the idea of the free state of Florida. We've always enjoyed some of the policies and that sort of thing in the state of Florida.
A few other things that's driving people out of the state. The property values have increased so much, and our house was involved in the Hurricane Ian.
The Florida Department of Transportation has been asked how many signs were replaced and the cost to taxpayers, but they have yet to respond.
Coming up next, when First at 5 returns, fighting off calls about his mental state, how President Biden is using the campaign trail to show supporters he's staying in the race.
And natural disasters hitting Americans' wallets, why weather officials say more than the victims of these storms will pay for the cleanup. We'll be right back.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
One day after President Biden delivered his highly watched press conference defending his mental state, he hit the campaign trail to brag about his administrative wins. But as Alice Barr reports, it wasn't enough to stem the growing calls for him to step aside as the Democratic nominee.
President Biden hitting the campaign trail in battleground Michigan today as he fights for his political life.
I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started.
Allies point to a president in command of the issues during last night's nearly hour-long press conference, but there was a notable gaffe.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
When former President Trump mocked him online, the president fired back that he knows the difference. One's a prosecutor, the other's a felon. But it followed a similar flub just hours earlier during the NATO summit. And with questions over his age and fitness surging post-debate, any slip takes on outsized significance. A few more Democratic lawmakers called on President Biden to drop out of the race right after the press conference, and the top Democrat in the House spoke with the president at the White House, amid fears not just the presidency, but the House and Senate are at risk if Mr. Biden can't drum up enough enthusiasm, with even some supportive voters.
I love that man.
Deeply worried.
I think it's time for him to step down.
Get us a candidate that is ready for this right now and for many years in the future.
One of President Biden's closest allies, Congressman Jim Clyburn, standing by him on NBC's Today Show.
The conversation should focus on the record of this administration, on the alternative to his election, and let Joe Biden continue to make his own decisions.
Appearing to leave the door open to a different decision before the Democratic National Convention next month. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
WUFT is heading to the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee next week. We will have live coverage of the events and speakers leading up to the nomination of former President Trump as the official Republican nominee. Join us right here on First at 5 on WUFT.org and on WUFT 89.1 and 90.1.
Weather disasters are becoming more frequent across the U.S. That's according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And as these events increase, the cost of cleanup continues to rise. As Jen Sullivan reports, it's not just those impacted that are paying for natural disasters.
Violent tornadoes tearing through southern Indiana Tuesday, causing several buildings to collapse. Part of southern Texas underwater after Hurricane Beryl slammed into the Lone Star State Monday morning, causing deadly and catastrophic damage. And firefighters in Northern California battling the Thompson Fire, which has consumed over 3,700 acres, and the Lake Fire. According to NOAA, as of July 9th, there have been 15 confirmed weather or climate disasters in the U.S., with losses exceeding $1 billion each just this year. These hefty costs aren't just felt by people living in these affected areas.
No one is untouched by the impacts of climate change.
Chris Harto works at Consumer Reports. They recently commissioned a study looking at the cost of climate change and found a baby born in the U.S. in 2024 could be on the hook for nearly $500,000 in climate change costs over their lifetime.
Drought, wildfires, heavy rains all can affect farming yields and drive up prices of food.
To reach that number, they looked at the cost of housing, energy, food, healthcare, and transportation. And these costs will just continue to rise as weather disasters become more frequent.
What we're seeing today is really just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what people can expect. We expect without mitigation for things to just keep getting worse.
So how do we fix this?
We have a lot of technologies available to us that we can deploy that can lower our emissions, lower the climate impacts, and eliminate a lot of these costs.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Tropical moisture is headed into the Carolinas this evening, and our storm chances will pick back up again this weekend. Your forecast is next.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome back to weather. Looking here on our satellite and radar, North Central Florida again not getting a lot of moisture, but as we track this low pressure up through the Carolinas, we can see that it's really going to cause a lot of storms tonight and into tomorrow morning going up through the East Coast. And as we continue through there, looking back here in Gainesville, it's a beautiful day, very bright and sunny. It's 93, but it feels like 97. If you're wearing the jacket I'm wearing, it feels like a million. Continuing on through here, it's again a lot of heat in the mid-90s, and you know the lack of rain probably isn't helping that heat. But looking right now, we've got a lot of rain over here in the Fort Myers-Naples area, which is going to cause a lot of moisture to come up through the west side, creating high pressures and a lot of showers and storms for Saturday. And looking ahead tonight, it's pretty clear. Pretty clear, just a lot of clouds. Looking at the hour by hour, there's possible renegade storms around 7, and then pretty dry the rest of the night, but still that same Florida heat. And looking here, it's tomorrow morning it's going to be in the 70s, a lot of low temperatures, but then once we get into Saturday afternoon, it's going to be right back into the 90s, just as before. Looking at our 7-day outlook, it's a 50% chance of rain on Saturday, and then it's going to hike up to the 80% chance of rain Sunday through Thursday. So make sure to grab a rain jacket or put it by your front door before you leave. And that's pretty much it for the weather, but stay dry this week because it's going to be really rainy.
Coming up in sports, see where experts project Jack Caglione to get drafted this weekend. Plus, what gymnast Leanne Wong has to say before she competes in the Olympics for Team USA. All that and more after the break. Happy Friday. Let's talk sports. I'm Jamie Goldman. With the MLB draft coming up this Sunday, Gators fans are excited to hear two-way star Jack Caglione's name called. In his final season at Florida, Caglione posted a .419 batting average to go along with 35 home runs. He also broke the all-time Gators home run record with 74 in 3 seasons. With the draft on Sunday, many experts have Caglione going in the top 5, including MLB.com's Jim Callis. In his mock draft, he has Caglione going number 5 to the Chicago White Sox. His projected number 1 overall pick is Travis Bazzana from Oregon State going to the Cleveland Guardians. The draft will begin Sunday at 7 in Arlington, Texas, ahead of the league's All-Star Game festivities. With college football season rapidly approaching, the SEC Media Days take place next week, Monday through Thursday. Florida's media period is scheduled for Wednesday at 1:45. Speaking for the Gators will be head coach Billy Napier, along with quarterback Graham Mertz, running back Montrell Johnson, and linebacker Shamar James. A few big topics of conversation will be the Gators' strength of schedule and the fact that Florida will have 7 home games this season in the Swamp. With the Paris Olympics just a few weeks away, Florida gymnast Leanne Wong has been selected to compete for Team USA Gymnastics. She is one of 10 gymnasts in history to go to the Olympics immediately following a collegiate season.
Definitely a lot in 1 year. I feel like I've almost paved a new path this year because a lot of college gymnasts decided to take the year off and focus on the Olympics. But I was like, well, this is my college time. I'm just going to stick with it. I'm going to just stick with the plan like what I've been doing.
Serve as an alternate gymnast for Team USA, and the Olympics begin July 26th in Paris, France. One final note before we go, rookie sensation Paul Skeens has just been given the nod to start the All-Star Game next week for the National League. He becomes the 5th rookie pitcher to start an All-Star Game and the 1st since 1995.
What a great accomplishment for a young athlete.
And before we go, let's take one more look at the weather.
Yeah, looking at Saturday, it's going to be a bright and sunny morning, so make sure to hit the beach, hit the springs, hit the pool. Make sure you're back inside in the afternoon because those storms are going to start around 1 p.m. and pick up around 3. And looking at the 7-day forecast after that, it's pretty much rain the rest of the week. 80% chance Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So just make sure you bring an umbrella wherever you're going and look out for thunder and lightning.
So not a golf weekend this weekend, huh?
No, not at all.
No.
Thanks for joining us. We're back here on Monday for another edition of First at 5.
But your North Central Florida news is always on at WUFT.org and on all our social media platforms. Have a good night and a wonderful weekend.